They had no idea betraying you would ruin their life, but that is the unshakable truth about betrayal. It always carries a price, and often that price is heavier than the betrayer could ever anticipate, because Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control what others choose to do, we can control how we respond, and our response determines not only our growth, but also the weight that inevitably falls back upon the one who wronged us. And so this video is about understanding betrayal through the eyes of Stoic philosophy, about seeing how people who turn against you ultimately suffer the most from their choices, and about realizing that your power lies not in revenge, but in discipline, in silence, in the mastery of your own emotions, because the one who betrays you always thinks they've gained an advantage, always thinks they've played you or manipulated you for their benefit. But what they fail to understand is that betrayal is a debt that life itself collects, and the moment they choose disloyalty over honor, deceit over truth, or selfishness over love, they plant a seed that will one day grow into their own suffering, and you, the one betrayed, if you remain grounded in Stoic wisdom, will rise above stronger, freer, and more unshakable than before, because betrayal, while painful, is not your downfall. It is their downfall, and it is your awakening. And so let us break this down step by step so you understand not only why betrayal destroys the betrayer, but also how you can transform your pain into strength, your anger into clarity, and your heartbreak into freedom. For Stoicism reminds us of one eternal truth: no one can truly harm you unless you allow it. And when you refuse to let betrayal dictate your spirit, you strip your enemy of their greatest weapon, leaving them to wrestle with their own guilt, their own emptiness, and their own decline. Because when someone betrays you, they betray themselves first. They prove their own lack of character, their own weakness, their own failure to live by virtue. And while they may smile in the moment, believing they've succeeded in outsmarting you, the reality is that their life has already begun to unravel, for no person who lives in dishonor can escape the collapse of their soul. And the Stoics would say, do not waste time wishing harm upon your enemies, for they are already harming themselves. And that is exactly what betrayal does. It poisons the betrayer's mind. It eats away at their relationships. It stains their reputation. It isolates them from trust, and sooner or later, the very people they thought they could use or manipulate begin to see them for who they truly are. And they end up alone, lost, broken, while you, the one betrayed, have the chance to grow into unbreakable strength. But here is where many people go wrong. They believe betrayal demands revenge. They think the answer is to fight back, to hurt the betrayer the way they hurt you. But Stoicism rejects that idea, because if you lower yourself to their level, if you respond with rage or schemes of vengeance, you do not destroy them. You destroy yourself. You give away your peace, your clarity, your dignity, and you become a prisoner to their actions. But if instead you choose silence, composure, and self-mastery, you win without even lifting a finger, because the greatest punishment for a betrayer is watching the one they betrayed rise higher than ever without them, untouched, unbothered, and unstoppable. And this is where your true power lies, because they expected you to crumble, they expected you to break, they expected you to beg. But when you instead remain calm, focused, and disciplined, they realize the weapon they tried to use against you has backfired. And that realization haunts them far more than anything you could ever say or do. So remember this: betrayal always reveals more about them than it does about you. And when someone betrays you, they are not exposing your weakness. They are exposing their lack of honor, and though it may sting in the moment, the pain you feel is temporary, but the consequences they face are permanent. Because every time they betray, they destroy another piece of their own life. And you, if you embrace Stoicism, will use betrayal as fuel for your own growth, as training for your own soul, as a lesson that people can take everything from you, but they cannot take your ability to remain virtuous. They cannot take your ability to remain calm. They cannot take your ability to live in accordance with reason and not emotion. And that is why Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy, to live in such a way that their betrayal does not corrupt you. And once you understand that, you will see betrayal differently, not as an ending, but as a beginning, not as a curse, but as a blessing in disguise, because betrayal clears out the weak. It removes the disloyal, It separates the fake from the true. And while it may hurt to see who they really are, that clarity is freedom, because you no longer waste your energy on someone unworthy, and you no longer build your life around someone who would sooner tear you down than lift you up. And so betrayal, though it feels like destruction, is really redirection. It is life removing what does not belong. It is nature doing the work of cleansing your path, and once you accept that, you stop seeing yourself as the victim and instead recognize yourself as the one chosen for strength. Because betrayal is not the mark of your weakness but of your resilience, and every time someone betrays you, life is giving you the opportunity to prove that your happiness, your peace, and your purpose do not depend on anyone else. They depend only on your own mind, your own discipline, your own choices, and this is the heart of Stoicism. Because the Stoics knew betrayal well, they lived in times where trust was fragile, where political schemes and personal treachery were constant. Yet they never allowed betrayal to own them. Instead, they used it as a reminder to place their trust not in the fickleness of others, but in the steadiness of their own character. And so must you, because the more you dwell on the betrayal, the more power you give to the betrayer. But the more you focus on your own path, the more powerless they become, until eventually you outgrow the wound completely, and they are left as nothing more than a shadow in your story, a minor character in the epic of your life, forgotten while you continue to rise. And here is the paradox. The moment you stop trying to punish them, life punishes them for you. Because guilt, shame, broken trust, and loneliness are punishments heavier than anything you could design, and those who betray cannot escape them, because you cannot build a good life on a foundation of deceit. You cannot prosper long-term through betrayal, because what is taken dishonorably always crumbles dishonorably. And so betrayal ruins their life not because you seek vengeance, but because nature itself ensures that every act of treachery brings decay to the one who commits it. And so when you think back to the one who betrayed you, do not waste your time hoping they suffer, for they already will. Do not waste your nights imagining their downfall, for it is already written. Instead, use your energy to build, to rise, to become so strong, so composed, so at peace, that their betrayal becomes the best thing that ever happened to you, because it woke you up, it hardened your spirit, it sharpened your wisdom, and it forced you to grow into someone who no longer relies on fragile people for strength. And so remember this: they had no idea betraying you would ruin their life, but it has, and it will, because while you rise above, they sink under the weight of their choices. And in the end, the story of betrayal is always the same. The betrayed becomes stronger, and the betrayer becomes weaker. And you, if you live with Stoic discipline, will see that truth unfold again and again. So hold your head high, do not break, do not beg. Do not waste your soul on vengeance, for nature, karma, and time will take care of them, while you take care of yourself. And in the end, your greatest triumph is not that they betrayed you. It is that you endured, you rose, and you conquered without ever having to sink to their level. And that is the ultimate Stoic victory.